America is pretty skint at the moment, and they are going to start a global conflict in order to pay for their debt. And this time I'm not sure it's going to work. Yes, war, or should I say wars, were the backbone of the mesmerising rise of the American economy. Post-World War II, that very subject, war, has been the main pillar of good old Uncle Sam's economic rise. And they're going to go for that war option this time around, even while some of their population do not have access to the most basic of needs, and that is clean drinking water. Join me while I go and explore drinking water, tap water, here in Beijing. I'm in the Tap Water Museum in Beijing, and it's surreal to see that there is a tap water museum in any city, but here in Beijing, and it's celebrated. And I was reading earlier that there is only, I think there is 30% of the global population that still can't get access to drinking water. And when I walk around the streets of Beijing, and in fact any city or village or town, any place that I've ever been in, I realise that everyone is just alike. Most people just want to get on with their life and enjoy their family, their local community, and to do that in relatively peace and safety. So I'm always confused why we do have war. And then I come to my senses and realise war is profitable. Aye, so what was I saying? America has almost got $37 trillion of debt, and it's rising fast. And modern money theory suggests that they can keep printing money because they are the world's reserve currency. And although that is true, and they can, in essence, keep printing money, history tells us that in doing so, they will drive up inflation, and also the cycles of boom and bust will become more severe. Think about this. If you took $100 back into a bank and asked for something in return, what would you get in return? You would get $100 back in return. And in that cycle is the privilege of what we assume and what we call the reserve economy, or the reserve money for the global economy. The dollar used to be linked to gold, but not now. And incidentally, did you know that the USA government banned the ownership of gold? Yep, they made that owning gold was illegal in about 1933, and you had to sell it back to the government on the cheap, or else you would face jail. They essentially nationalised the gold industry, and they needed to do that to shore up their currency. Then, because of the success of the dollar as the world's reserve currency, there was not enough gold in Fort Knox to cover the theory of being linked to gold. So in 1971, they disbanded that, and now we have what's called fiat money. Basically means that that money, the money that we use, is linked to nothing. It more or less means that that is just a paper IOU. In the more recent times, cheap money or that overprinting paper IOUs has driven the American economy. Going for a walk down the riverside. Join me. So it's getting cold in Beijing now. The winter is more or less here, and autumn is gone. Colours have changed, not so bright, not so beautiful, although the sun is still up, so we have a little bit of blue sky. Anyway, this idea of cheap money, dollar printing, essentially just printing IOUs. So this cheap money was the source of the big financial crash in 2008. But since then, it has been the source that has held the global economy and the American economy together. But this honestly cannot go on forever. And the recent higher interest rates that has been in play for the last 2-3 years, they have possibly reduced inflation, which is debatable, but it's not dealt with the underlying problem, which is America's debt mountain. And the thing is, the powers that be, especially the new administration, they know that this is a problem. They know it. So the worst thing that they could have done, America, was weaponizing the dollar. Biden did that. That was a huge mistake and very blind to history. Just look back at the Dutch, French, English economic history and you will see exactly what I mean. The SWIFT system, the international banking system that fronts the dollar's domination, is being circumvented now by countries because America did weaponize the dollar. Countries are doing things like currency swaps, digital currency, doing deals by just swapping the goods that they have or the products that they make. So now much of the global economy is bypassing the dollar, the banking system, and it is almost impossible now to calculate the actual wealth of some of the countries doing that accurately. Just it's difficult to do. You may hear a lot of speculation about countries whose economies are crashing, but it's not clear. They do not know. The people on TV, etc., these people, they just don't know. No one knows. They've got as much clue as you and I. The system, really, that benefited America's dominance, the SWIFT system, that has been, how could you put it, partially blinded. And that basically means America, they cannot now see the trades that were being done, because they could see the trades being done, and that was a big advantage to them because everything was done in dollars. But that's now hobbled. So they're losing that advantage, and they're big mad, very mad. The logical progression is that things will change. I personally think that the future is likely to be digital currency and blockchain technology. And once that's all fleshed out and built, the framework is there, then the SWIFT banking system will start to creak even more, and that will disadvantage the US even more. And I think that is why the digital currency at the moment is booming, and why governments now, including America, is opening up to this idea about engaging in the digital currency. They want a piece of that. They want that visibility. And watch, because America is already deeply ingrained in that digital currency technology, as are many other countries. It is going to be the way forward. And by the way, I don't know much about cryptocurrency or anything like that. I'm just reading the data. Yes. So it's a nice park, this. You can imagine what it'd be like during the summer. Still, people jogging, walking, and enjoying their local community. Anyway, back to the subject matter. So the incoming administration, Donald Trump and his team, they know that America has a debt problem, and they are going to go after this, apparently, aggressively. And as an example, they have put in place, or are putting in place, a system headed up by the unelected Elon Musk to reduce the spending by government. And this, my friends, is smoke and mirrors. It is a circus act. The truth being known, they are not going to be able to reduce the debt by that much just by working on government spending. Government spending is far too entrenched, and the system just will not back off. They're just not going to take it and give it up that easy. Sure, they can drive some things, as an example, the return to office campaign. That will drive people out of some jobs when they will leave without any severance. And yeah, I get it. And trust me, I do think governments waste a hell of a lot of money, and they do it by design. For example, I was told by a friend who was working in the UK government's procurement office that they were paying at that time 50 quid for a ream of paper, not a box, a ream of paper. They would pay 50 quid for that one ream of paper. They were not allowed to buy it from anywhere else because it was a lifetime contract with the company that was selling this ream of paper for 50 quid. And yeah, the contract was with people higher up. All that needs pulled down, but it's not going to happen. They will, however, use that whole smoke and mirror approach to reduce government because it's advantageous to the wealthy to have small government. They always want small government because small government will not dig into the wealth of the super wealthy, super rich. And by the way, take a look at the wealth owned by Trump's cabinet. They're almost all of them are billionaires. And I do feel like there will be an Obama moment in the future for the people who voted for Trump. A moment where they have that buyer's remorse, or even, dare I say it, a moment where there is a JFK. Maybe shouldn't say that. If that does happen, then the real narrative, the real story will unfold. Stay alert to that. And I'm sounding all Alec Jones and conspiracy theory here. I'm just joining up some of the dots and making a bit of an assumption. So ignore that last comment about JFK, but follow the money, the tech billionaires' mindset, and the future of capitalism, which at the moment, that system is creaking at the edges. So the other thing to understand here is that Donald Trump and the incoming administration are very big on tariffs, and they're throwing them around like confetti at a good old Christian wedding. But to be honest, they're also going to cause a bit of a problem with inflation. Tariffs are paid by the importing country, and they are passed on to the consumer. My friends, that is you, the person on the street. You're going to pay more because of the tariffs. The intention I get with the tariffs is that they want factories and manufacturing to return to the country that is issuing the tariffs. But it does take time, and there will be a moment between tariffs hitting you in your pocket versus the moment where you see a shiny new factory in your neighbourhood. That is, if you ever do see a shiny new factory in your neighbourhood at all. And ask yourself, who's going to work in these factories and how much will they pay? Do you think it's going to be you? Bear in mind, Elon Musk is in the robot business after all. And another thing to ask yourself about is immigration. Is that cheap labour? It's quite handy, that. Why do you think this immigration thing is never going to be resolved? In other words, being allowed. Again, don't be fooled by the smoke and mirrors. Incidentally, one other thing, do you know that tariffs in this volume being talked about by Donald Trump was tried before in 1930? And some would argue that that actually caused the Great Depression. It was called the Smoot-Hawley tariff policy or whatever. And it's actually mentioned in a scene from the movie, which I loved when I was a teenager, maybe a wee bit older, the movie called Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There's a famous scene in that. You'll remember, that's exactly what they were talking about, tariffs and the fact that they didn't work. Watch this and you'll see.
The tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which, did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression.
Right, I think I better get back on subject. So I was talking about America and the need to fight war, the American war economy. so that they can pay their debts. So let me try and explain this quickly. So America, my friends, is done fighting wars with their own people. That is a losing strategy. It's a vote loser. And they will definitely not fight a war on their own land. They're very well secure in that front, unless, of course, there is a civil war, and I do not think that will happen yet. Anyway, another thing, remember, quite often America is or has land on other countries which they deem to be theirs. There is a lot of military bases around the world and so on. The empire, the American empire, is pretty hidden. It's an empire just the same though. So American foreign policy, and I have to stress here, I am talking about American foreign policy. I respect and love the American people. Some of my family are American. My own brother is American, essentially. My problem is with the foreign policy of America. It's dated, out of date, and it needs to be reconsidered, rethought for this modern age. Anyway, America will fight wars in and around your country or someone's country. It's called a proxy war. That country will pay for it. That country will be destroyed. The USA will then take back the American debt that that country has, because American debt is basically issued in the guise of bonds. So America will charge you for the war that just happened in your country, and they will take back these bonds, and then they will charge you even more so. They will charge you even more American dollars, big IOUs, for rebuilding your country. And in that act of rebuilding your country, they will insist that you have to employ big American global organizations or companies, and then also service the debt that you now have to America with increasing interest. And if you're looking for a reference point for understanding that, then look at post-World War II economics. That is essentially what America done and what America benefited from. And as an example, did you know that the UK finally paid off its war debt in America in December 2006? Have a quick search and see what countries actually owe America for war. More walking. Stick with me. So I don't want to fully depress you here. It is cold. Came out for a visit to the Tap Museum and a walk in the park. Went down the side of the river and then I'm in the park now. So I don't want to fully depress you. But this war plan to reduce the American debt mountain has already been started. And if it is not stopped, then it will escalate in 2025. And I'm not sure if the new Obama, Mr. Donald Trump, who is of Scottish heritage like me, hence the accent, I'm not sure he's going to be able to stop this. It has maybe too much momentum. But look on his bright side. A lot of billionaires are going to get very, very wealthy, very rich, even more rich. And the American taxpayer, UK taxpayer or wherever, is going to get even more poor. And for me, the alternative, to be honest, is for countries to work together and to be supported and developed by the superpowers, not bombed by the superpowers. There's the thing. If only. Anyway, take care. Peace out. Catch you in another video.